My ex turned up last night drunk. Tomorrow is his wedding day. Should I tell his soon-to-be wife? I was with my ex for 2 years. It wasn't the best relationship, and we broke up because I moved for uni and just didn't want to be with him anymore. It's been almost 5 years since we broke up, and I'm engaged to be married with my fiancé, who is absolutely my soulmate. Yesterday evening at around 10 o'clock, he rang our doorbell drunk. His bachelor party was in the city I live in, and he came to see me. When my fiancé opened the door, my ex just started sobbing, saying that he couldn't believe he, my fiancé, was real or something like that. We took him into the apartment because he didn't look dangerous. He just vocally vomited before he actually vomited in our bath. What I could gather is that he was still very hurt because of our breakup, that he thinks that we could have made it work, and he regrets treating me badly. He then threw up again and called an Uber to his hotel. It was very surreal. He was fine. We fed him waffles to sober him up and told him to write to us when he was in his hotel to make sure he didn't die or something. I was left with a weird feeling, almost dirty. I'm thinking of contacting his soon-to-be wife. Or should I call him to encourage him to tell that to his fiancée? Or should I not do anything and let this just be an anecdote for my future? Wow. Very, very interesting. I don't know about this one. I really don't. I personally think you have to tell her. You have to tell her. Because if you don't, then you know that he's going into this relationship, into this wedding, into this marriage, not fully in it, right? Like, he's still got regrets. Do you want to be married to somebody that has regrets over their past and that is still, like, as soon as they have a bit of alcohol, thinking about their ex? No. So I think you owe it to her to tell her. I know it's not your place, but also, like, put yourself in her shoes. Anyway, let's see what the people of Reddit had to say about this. Somebody said, wow, interesting. They said exactly the same thing I've just said. Put yourself in his wife's shoes. Would you want to sign your life away to this person? OP replied, I guess I'd want to know, but I would also prefer my partner to tell me that. Yeah, I agree. It isn't your place to tell her, and I agree exactly with your logic there. Tell him to tell her. But I would also say, like, look, if you don't tell her, then I'm going to, because she has to know. Somebody else said, well, would he tell her though? Like, why would he tell her? By telling her yourself, you risk not being believed or coming across as petty, but at least you know somebody tried to warn her. Now, OP left a little edit and a couple of updates below this. First of all, she said, thanks for all the feedback. It seems like Reddit is as split on this as I am. Just because this kept coming up, my main goal with telling her is not for them to break up. I don't want that. That's not why I would want to tell her. The reason for me telling her is solely that I would want to know if I was her. Nothing else. It's also not me bragging about him not being over me. That's not something I care about. And I wonder how some of you twisted it into that. Also, a tiny update. I decided that contacting the bride was the wrong move because we are not friends. However, I sent his sister, an old friend of mine, a message basically saying to talk to her brother because he appeared at my door drunk and distressed, and to make sure he was okay. She thanked me for the message and apologized profusely because my ex had been apparently acting a fool for a few weeks now leading up to his wedding. She asked me if I was okay and if her brother had gone back to the hotel room because they couldn't find him. I told her he'd Ubered home and had written to us that he had arrived in his room at around 11:30 p.m. She thanked me again, and I haven't heard from her since. Oh, and another update. His sister called me again to ask me if he'd come by or said anything about his whereabouts. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding. Oh my goodness. Apparently, he didn't show for the wedding, and nobody knows where he is. So, me telling the fiancé is now obsolete. Goodness me. Okay, so that update came, I presume, the next day on the wedding day. I forget that this is all happening very, very quickly and the night before the wedding. Jesus. All right, somebody said in the comments down below, you and your fiancé handled every bit of this as graciously as anyone could expect. Contacting his sister was the best move you could have made. Somebody said, oh dang, he ran out on the wedding. That girl dodged a major bullet. And finally someone said, holy heck, the edits. I hope he's okay. Please update us if they find him. I mean, yeah, that is true. Like, it's not just that he ran out on the wedding. Nobody's actually seen him, I suppose, since he left your house, OP. So yeah, I hope he's all right. To be honest, it does sound, I know this is obviously like a crazy event and very, very distressing for the wife to be, but I think in the long term, it's probably a good thing these guys didn't get married. Anyway, 10 days later, we got this final update. Long story short, he bailed. He decided he did not want to commit to his fiancée, bailed, and days later called to break off the engagement. A few more details. After his sister and I talked, my ex's fiancée reached out and was kind of mad. The best man had told her he went to see me. At first, she was convinced we had sex, so that took a bit of talking. I felt sorry. She was very distraught. She apologized, I apologized, and I told her I wished her the best. Saturday, I received a call from the sister. Apparently, the ex reappeared. He went all the way to France. I'm not actually sure where this is happening. I think it might be in England because of the word uni earlier, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, France, overseas, and this definitely doesn't take place in France, does it? His sister called me to apologize because my ex had stolen one of my lipsticks. I honestly hadn't noticed, but my ex admitted it to her. She PayPal'd me the money to buy myself a new one. I said I wasn't mad, and I asked her how she was and how his ex-fiancé was. On their end, everything is a mess. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Everyone is mad at him. I don't know many more details, and I kind of wasn't willing to ask, but yeah, that's it. Okay, and there we go. One final comment. He stole a lipstick? A lipstick? What? Who does that? It's so bizarre, it's funny. Stealing a lipstick of all things, and then his sister PayPaling you for it? Thank you for the laugh. OP replied saying, our guess is that he just grabbed the first thing he knew was mine that was small enough to fit in his pocket. And there we go. Okay, not quite sure how to react to that one. Slightly strange story all in. This guy, I think, just was battered and clearly had realized over the previous weeks that he did not want to do this. And he was probably too much of a coward to admit it to his fiancée and had to do this instead and just, yeah, get out of there. Which is a terrible, terrible thing to do. I mean, if you're going to do something like this that close to a wedding, at least have the decency to actually explain to people that you're not feeling it. If you're not feeling it, yeah, it's pretty poor to do it that late, and I assume that everyone involved is going to lose quite a lot of money on the wedding, but it's at least better than just running away and then just, you know, on the day, the bride-to-be just being like, well, where's my fiance? Where's my husband? And just, you know, obviously being devastated. But yeah, there you go. As for stealing the lipstick, I don't know. This guy is he's just gone crazy. He's just panicked, hasn't he? That's the thing. He's just panicked, and yeah, he needs some help, but he's also a complete jerk. Just looking through the comments and OP's account, I think that OP lives in Germany, or at least is German. So safe to assume that this wedding was taking place in Germany, and that, yeah, her ex just fled across the border into France. It's not really that funny, but it kind of is. Like, I can just imagine this guy just being like so stressed and panicked and being like, you know what, I can't even just not go to my wedding. I've got to leave the country. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. And like, just why has he stolen lipstick? Again, like, as I said earlier, I feel like this is a good man to dodge from I hope now his ex. But doing it in this way, absolutely shocking. My husband got fired for harassing a co-worker and won't talk to me about it. I am a 36-year-old woman, and my husband, Charlie, who is a 41-year-old man, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 6. We've had our ups and downs, but we're currently in an up. He's never done anything like this in the past, so it came out of left field for me, and I'm very much shocked and at a loss here. Charlie is a computer programmer and was a senior engineer at his former company, where he'd worked for 4 years. He'd never had any trouble with co-workers, and we're both friendly with a few of them, mostly other men and their wives. On Friday of last week, he came home at around 11 AM and told me he'd been fired. He was really upset and agitated, and I didn't want to push him about it. But he told me that they'd said he was harassing a co-worker and was therefore fired. So the information I've been able to get out of him is this. The co-worker is Beth, a junior engineer who he's never mentioned to me before. He said she's, quote, terrible at her job. Beth slept with a senior engineer we're both friendly with, Darren. Darren wasn't involved in the harassment, wasn't fired, etc. The company's lawyers were there, and among the things they told him was that Beth could have pressed charges, but chose not to. Something happened with her car, but he won't say what. His exact words were, there was something with her car. And finally, he was escorted off of the premises and is not allowed back in the building to get his belongings, and instead has to arrange with security to pick them up after business hours. As far as anything else goes, he won't give me any details. He isn't interested in seeing a lawyer because he says that everything is legal. He's basically admitted to, quote, sending Beth some emails, but he won't say what they said or anything like that. I don't know if Beth sleeping with Darren had to do with it, but the fact that he gave me that detail makes me think it does. I'm not sure how that relates. Darren is a very nice single man who's in his late 20s and approximately the same age as Beth. My mind is running wild here. Charlie has been depressed and withdrawn all weekend. He won't talk to me about it, and he won't talk much in general. I work remotely, so I was home all day with him, and he played video games all day and then went to bed at 6 p.m. The fact that he won't tell me anything and isn't interested in seeing a lawyer makes me think that it's bad, and it makes me worry that everything is true and not just a misunderstanding or a small thing blown out of proportion. He has never been flirtatious with other women or cruel to them, and he's also never said anything bad about other women engineers that he's worked with. I don't know what to do here. My instinct is to be supportive of my husband, but I don't know what kind of behaviour I'd be supporting. I don't want to run to his co-workers we know and ask them, since they're more our friends than my friends, and while we spend time together at get-togethers or bars, I'm not close with them. In an immediate sense, I don't know what to do about helping someone who is so depressed and won't talk to me. Okay, there we go. That is it for the original post. I completely get what OP is saying. You want to back up your husband here, of course you do, but you don't know what he's done. Can you support someone when you don't know what they've done? I'm not entirely sure, even if they are your husband. If he's not giving you the details, then that's not really your fault. Anyway, let's jump into some top comments before getting into the update for this one. Somebody said, I would tell him you have to assume the worst if he won't be honest with you. I've got to say, he must have done some bad stuff to be escorted off the premises with no warning like that. Either he was hating on her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and went over the top, or he tried to F her and then hated on her. Okay, I suppose, maybe, but I'm not sure about sort of guessing what he's done either. It's one thing him not telling you, it's another thing trying to work out what he might have done. This comment continues saying, edit, I've just reread the whole thing. I'm guessing that he tried to F her, then sent crazy emails and vandalized her car. He could easily still be charged criminally and or sued. Yeah, as I said, I'm not sure about jumping to conclusions, but I get why the people of Reddit are trying to work out or, yeah, guess at what might have happened. Somebody else actually replied to this comment saying, I've worked at larger companies, and when they fire people, sometimes they are walked right out of the building. The reasoning is they don't want the fired person to make a scene and rock the boat. It's heartless in my opinion, but it does happen. Something tells me that OP's husband did something terrible because lawyers were there and apparently the girl could have pressed charges. That is very unusual. My guess is OP's husband got jealous that Darren was sleeping with Beth and not him, as he had a crush on Beth for a while, and he flipped out and went all nice guy on her. He mentioned there are emails, so there is evidence in writing as well. This does not bode well for OP. Again, I can't really argue with this comment, and this does seem pretty reasonable. I'm just not sure that I want to go there and say what might have happened. I mean, maybe I'm sort of doing a little bit of a cop out there because I know there is an update to come, but just my opinion. Anyway, one final comment said this. Seeing as it got so far that he's been fired and he doesn't want to fight it, it sounds like the allegations are probably true. The fact that he brings up Darren makes it seem like he's harassed her as a result of sexual jealousy. Does he usually shut down conversation on things? Does he usually keep things from you? I'd be very cautious about what he's hiding and what it means for you and your relationship. Even if it's not sexual and it's just plain old harassment, Do you want to be with a grown man who harasses young women to the point he gets fired? It's a good point. I mean, you know, he is 41. Beth is, in her late 20s. Yeah, you don't want to be with somebody that does this sort of thing, obviously. I mean, no matter what the age of everyone involved is. But anyway, let's, with that all being said, get straight into the update of this one, which was actually posted the next day. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with any of these comments, and what they're saying is probably accurate. Let's be honest. I just wouldn't jump to that conclusion straight away because, you know, we're just guessing. We don't really know. But let's see what actually did happen in the update. OP says, my thread was locked before I was able to respond to any of the comments, but I was able to read them this morning. I got up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work, and my husband was still awake playing video games. I presented him with the very good idea that somebody suggested of sending me an email with the details, but that it wasn't acceptable to shut me out of this situation since it affects me too. His response was basically, the paperwork is in my car. Go get it if you want to read it. I asked him to go and get it so we could look at it together, and he said, you're going to believe what you want anyway. All of this is unusual for our marriage because I'm a pretty patient person, I think. We went out to the car together and he got in, handed me the papers, and left. Well, that is not a good sign. For about 2 hours, I was panicked because I didn't know where he went, if he was okay, if he was thinking of hurting himself. But his mum texted me at 9 saying he was over there, asking me what happened, if everything is okay, etc. His parents live about 15 minutes away, and I guess he told her he's going to be staying there. So, the paperwork. According to the paperwork, he sent Beth multiple harassing emails from anonymous email accounts. The emails are printed out and attached. He apparently did this while at work, and they've been monitoring his user account for 3 months. The emails aren't sexual or romantic in nature, and they're all anonymous, and about how she sucks at her job, wouldn't be there if she wasn't a woman, how she should quit before she gets fired, and how everyone in the office hates her. He made fake user accounts for his company's product that she works on and submitted bad reviews of her work. He also did this while logged in at work. He sent an anonymous email to her boss saying that she was sleeping with a senior engineer on another project. He put a gun catalogue on the windshield of her car. I don't know what this gesture means, but I obviously understand that it was meant to be threatening. Unfortunately, inside was a subscription card that the company auto-filled with his name and address. She also says she's been harassed for the same length of time, about 3 months, on Twitter. He only logged into one Twitter account that harassed her at work, so they can only say that one was him, all telling her to quit her job. So, I don't know what to do now. This is all terrifying to me, and I feel so bad for this woman. I have no idea what this is all about. He works with other female engineers, he's worked with male engineers who don't pull their weight, and he's never done anything like this. I would have bet $1 million that he'd never do anything like this. He's at his parents' right now, and I don't know what my next move here could possibly be. This is so scary and out of left field to me. Goodness me, there we go. That is it for the update. Let's jump into some final comments. OP's actually added a little bit more information first of all before I give my final thoughts. So OP said this in the comments down below. I forgot to mention this paperwork is copied from the original and was signed by both him and his company. I don't know if that's a full admission, but it seems damning either way. Somebody said in response to this, time to sit your husband down and give an ultimatum. He needs to give you his side of the story or you two are done. This is clearly a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. Somebody else said, your husband needs serious therapy. What you describe as absolutely abhorrent behavior. If he is unwilling to get help about this or do anything to convince you that he understands how wrong what he did is, you should seriously consider getting as far away from this man as you can. What he did is evil. Okay, there we go. That is it for the first story of this episode. And that's kind of the reason why I didn't really want to jump to conclusions, because yes, what we've seen there is disgusting. I'm not taking away from that fact, but there was no like sexual stuff in there, which a lot of people were saying in the comments in the original post. I mean, doesn't really change the fact that you've got to leave your husband, right? Like, what is he doing? Also, why is he doing this? This is the main thing that's just so weird. Like, what's happened here in his mind for him to do this? to be honest, it doesn't really matter, but you can't be with someone like this. If he's doing this to a younger woman, I mean, you're a younger woman than him, so who knows? He could easily at some point in your lives together act like that with you. It's too scary, right? You got to get out of there. The cyber harassment is one thing, but leaving your name and address in a gun catalog that you put on someone's car, I mean, leaving the name and address is stupid, but a gun catalog on someone's car? Now, I'm not entirely sure whether that's like him saying to her, I'm threatening you with, a gun, or perhaps he wanted that to be found by, another member of staff on her car. Depends what sort of state this is in. Like, if that happened in the UK, it feels like he might have been trying to set her up a little bit. But all the comments, and I presume all of you guys are saying that no, actually, like, that's just threatening that, he wants to shoot her or something, which is just crazy. Like, again, I know I've said this so many times on the channel, but it's so weird to me how some people can seem so normal. Like, you've been together with this guy for 10 years, married for 6, OP. Yet behind closed doors, or not even behind closed doors, at their place of work, they have so much hatred for this one woman for apparently no reason that they would threaten their life. Like, it's insane. And yeah, ultimately, you got to get out of there. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at a loss. How do I move forward? This was originally posted on February the 21st, 2025. I, a 27-year-old man, am in a fight with my wife, who is 28. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts, married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter who is 4. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So, I stood behind and I held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertain the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on red while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But she backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that, nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. The whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One co-worker, a 23-year-old man, was almost in every picture or video attached to her hip. In one pic, he had his arm too comfortably around her, IMO. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texts my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kind of brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and angry at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of it. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her that had nothing to do with it, and everything to do with the hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite, it looks like a hickey. I often feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during that Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? There we go. That is it for the original post. Before we get into the update, let's jump into some comments and see what the people of Reddit were saying. Somebody said, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence, or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a bug bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while they were in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. OP replied, no, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it will be another argument. Somebody else said, why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is, and why is it necessary to have, the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to her daughter at all on her birthday, or she just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? OP replied, work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for an extended period away from each other, like how long the retreat was, especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Well, that, I've got to say, guys, is actually terrible. Like, not chatting to your daughter at all on her birthday is so bad. I'm going to back my own parents up here. My parents never missed one of my birthdays ever. Like, they would make sure, even if there were work trips and stuff, they wouldn't go if it was on my birthday. So, first of all, respect to them. Actually, just last year, I think, was the first time that my dad wasn't there on my birthday, I believe. And I'm 26. So, you know, there's two ways of doing it. And by the way, I've been away on my birthday without my parents, but, you know, they want to be there, which is pretty nice. And it's definitely not like this mother. Anyway, OP then responded to a deleted comment saying, yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday. And when you promise to do something special for them and got the child excited about it, and then just hang up on them while they're crying. To be honest, I don't even think the FaceTime is special at all, but there we go. I'm not insecure, OP says. My wife's gone on the retreats before. We both work outside the home and have the caring for our daughter, so it's not an imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She's in the company of other adults plenty. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, and it wasn't appreciated her entertaining a co-worker who ignores boundaries and the fact that he had his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I got things to help her treat it for when she returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a hickey for me, and I questioned her on it. Okay, then a week later, we got the following updates. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up, but I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed that she hooked up with that co-worker on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff, and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy that she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, who is 57. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from his child, and the infidelity he put her mum, who is 55, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly, and how when she was growing up, her mum never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents, but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows, but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mum, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter now. Right now, she believes her mum's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My mother-in-law called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my mother-in-law was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb, yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed, but I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It is much appreciated. Okay, and there we go. Let's jump into some comments before I give my final thoughts. Somebody said, it was already established that there had been line crossing with the co-worker prior to the trip, even if it wasn't physical yet. But even if there hadn't been, I've known co-workers' pet names for their significant others before when only interacting with them on a professional level. The fact that the guy both intentionally gave her a hickey and used the pet name says a whole heck of a lot about him though. Someone willing to engage in an affair is bad enough. This guy was doing it as some kind of sick power play. I mean, that's a great point. He is 23 as well, so he's probably very immature, and I can definitely see how someone like that is, doing it for their own ego, to be like, oh, I did this. He's probably like gone and told all his mates how he broke up a relationship with an older woman, you know. Some people like that do exist. Now, somebody replied to this saying, it is also possible that it's something super common, like honey or baby, but OP said no, it's actually a specific nickname. It's not derived from her name or anything. It just summed up things I loved about her in one word. Apparently, he turned it into a sexual context. I mean, I don't want to get too far away from the real villain of the story, who is your wife, but this guy is awful. Somebody else said, one question, how close was the colleague to her to know her nickname that you use, and why did she let him this close to her literally and figuratively? Opie said, at the time I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department, so she took him under the wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity though. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her, and I chose to trust her because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As far as the nickname, it was something only I called her, but it wasn't like a secret thing. I called her by it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once, and he asked her about it afterwards. Okay, so I guess that leads us into a final question for OP, which ultimately has to be, do you see yourself, or do you want to get back with your wife or not? And it's a very, very tough one, but I have quite strong opinions on this just based on what I've read. Now, if she had just gone on this retreat and maybe she liked the look of this guy, and on one night she made a huge error, did what they did, and then immediately came to you and your daughter, well, maybe not your daughter, but you know what I mean, came to you and said, I can't believe it, I've done this, I'm so sorry, this is the worst thing I've ever done, etc, 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 told you everything, was completely honest about it, came home from the trip, whatever. I think then and only then could there have been any potential for you to forgive her if you wanted to. I'm not saying you should, by the way. I'm saying that only under those circumstances would, in my opinion, you be able to potentially forgive her. However, the fact of the matter is that she lied to you for who knows how long, a while, right? Like, she said the hickey was a bug bite. She was just avoiding you the entire trip, not just in that one moment, or that one day. The fact that she didn't speak to your daughter on her birthday because she was like just going after this guy. The fact that this has been a thing before, which you've obviously talked about, the guy being close to her, or trying to get with her clearly, and her not actually, well, I suppose either she didn't understand it or was just a bit naive to what he was doing, or she actually knew what he was doing and was like, oh, don't worry, it's fine. Whereas in reality, she was probably actively encouraging it. All these things and more add up, and therefore I can say, with all that context, then I don't see how you can ever get back with her, because it wasn't just the one moment of madness, cheating. It was all the lying and deceit and everything else on top of that. So for me, I think this relationship is sadly done. I don't know how you could ever trust someone like this again. To be honest, I think it'd be very hard to, even if they did just cheat and then immediately apologize, and the cheating was the only thing, but all this as well, I think it's going to be impossible. But hey, I'm not in love with this woman anyway. So there you go. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. That is going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did and want more right away, check out this episode on screen. Subscribe over there if you're new, and I'll catch you on the next one. My boyfriend expects me to keep up a lie with his family, but it feels wrong. So, my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years. Guys, they're both 28 years old. OP is a woman. We live across the country from his parents, so this Christmas is the first time I will actually be meeting them. They are hosting us at their house for 2 weeks. I'm super thrilled to meet his family. It will be his parents and 2 siblings that still live at home. He has met my parents quite a few times because they live in the same area as us. He moved here for school about 10 years ago and loved it, found a job and stayed. Everything is going amazingly. We moved in together 2 years ago and our relationship is just progressing naturally. We aren't really in a rush to try and move quickly or anything, but I will call it a very serious relationship at this point. So, anyway, yesterday we boarded our 6-hour flights. He seems a little bit nervous and fidgety, but I know that he doesn't fly very much, so I attributed it to that, and I told him I was there for him if he needed anything, to comfort him, and to let me know if I could do anything to calm his nerves. He said it was fine, and we were having a pretty good flight. Now, partway through the flight, he grabs my hand and tells me he wants to tell me something. He tells me that his parents think that we are a fairly new relationship. They don't know that we live together. They don't know that he is close with my family. He told them that we met at work, when in reality we met at school years ago. We had a lot of the same classes and met in school, but we stayed friends for a long time. He tells me that they think he lives in an entirely different city. He lied to them about what degree he has, and they think he has an entirely different job. He told me that a few white lies about making his parents happy so they'd keep sending him money during school snowballed into not knowing how to tell them, and he pretty much has a totally fake life in their eyes now. He told them that I work in the same field as his fake job, even though I don't. He gave them a totally random family backstory on me. He really wants me to keep up appearances with the stories he told them over this holiday because he doesn't want to make a big scene and be embarrassed about having to lay it all out, and would prefer to wait until we get home again to tell them everything. I feel extremely uncomfortable with this, and I was honestly pretty shocked. I've said hello to his mum on speakerphone conversations, popped in for a Skype hello when they were chatting, and honestly, I had no idea that he had made up a huge story about us and me. I realise now that I've only actually spoken to her in the last year, which is how long his family thinks we've been together. It makes me feel like I can't trust him. He promised me that this is the only thing he's ever lied about. He said he lied about it because he wanted his parents to be happy with his decisions and wanted them to think he was making the choices they wanted for him. Would it be reasonable to assume that these are the only lies he's told and he hasn't fabricated anything within our own relationship? He never told me they didn't know anything about us. He always just made it seem like they did. I'm not really sure where to go from here or how to tell him that I don't want to do this. His parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be to close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? I don't know what to do. We got here yesterday and everyone is fabulous, but so far I've just kept my mouth shut about everything. The first big family dinner is tonight, which I expect is where most of the conversation about us and what we do is going to come up, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Oh my goodness me. What a web of lies your boyfriend has constructed, OP. Right from the very beginning, this has all been leading to this moment, I feel like, and just getting worse and worse and worse. This is why these white lies that you start off with that you think are harmless, if you don't sort of deal with them pretty soon and sort of swallow your pride and admit to the facts, or just be honest with whoever it is, then you can become absolutely tangled in this web like OP's boyfriend is now. It's insane. And you know what? Like I would never do this myself, but I'd be lying if I said I'd never told a white lie before, maintain that white lie to, you know, for my pride or just so I don't get found out. And then it becomes a bigger thing, which actually you're like, well, I've got to keep this up because I've already said this lie in the past, but now it's way more intense and way more than I ever thought it would be when I just said that white lie at the start. This is like the ultimate version of that where, yeah, I mean, 4 years of lies. It's crazy. What I would say from your perspective, OP, is you have just got to say to your boyfriend, this is all on you. I'm not going to lie for your sake. I'm just not going to. I'm going to tell the truth the whole time because that's who I am as a person. And if you want to maintain this lie while I'm saying the opposite, that's on you. And this is your family, so you're going to have to deal with the consequences. You can do whatever you want, and the way you act in this dinner and with your family and me in general is up to you, of course. But, you know, I'm going to tell the truth. And if you want to keep lying, that's on you. Now, I think you say that to your boyfriend and then your boyfriend has a choice to make. Does he maintain this lie and, yeah, just become even more of a coward? That's ultimately what he's doing. And I get it, like he's put himself in this position, but he's done it to try and appease his parents. over the years, and now it's just got too big for him. But what might happen at this dinner? Like, you say, or your boyfriend's parents ask you, or how's your job going? You just say what your actual job is, and then just be honest. They say, oh, hang on, but we thought your job was this. You say, no, it's this. Then you see how your boyfriend reacts. If your boyfriend then says, wait, hang on, honey, no, it is, that's not your job, blah, 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 and he still wants to maintain this lie, then that's a question about your relationship with him ultimately. And you think, do I want to be with somebody that's lying about my job to his family? No. If he then at that moment comes clean and says, this is what's been happening over all these years, then there you go. The risk that you take by going along with this lie for now is that I know he said that when you get back, he'll come clean and he'll tell his family over the phone. He might not do that. And in fact, I would say that he's probably not likely to do that. It's been such a long time anyway, right? It's been 4 years. Why now? If anything, like, this could go on forever, indefinitely. I think it's up to him what he wants to do, but you have got to tell the truth if that's what you want to do. Those are my thoughts. Let's see what the comments on Reddit were saying. And of course, we've got an update to come for this one as well. Somebody said, and they quoted this, his parents paid for our tickets. Would the nice thing to do just be close my mouth and let him sort this out on his own when we get home and just play along? Well, actually, why would continuing to lie to these people be the best way to repay them for your flight? That's a good question. OP replied, I just meant that I don't want to be the reason there's a huge blowout if this is something that I should be letting him keep between them, the people directly affected. I didn't mean I want to thank them by being a horrible person. I get what OP's saying. Like, they pay for you to come out there, have a good time. If you are the one that tells them, I suppose, that their son's been lying, then you, I guess, are the reason why the trip's not going to go well, even though you're obviously not. It's actually just their son. Somebody else said, I don't think you can ever trust your boyfriend again. He's lying because he's afraid to disappoint his parents, and there's no reason he wouldn't do the same to you. If he gets fired from his job, he might just pretend he's still going to work every day and never tell you. If he cheats on you, he'll never admit it. If he goes into debt, he'll keep it secret and pretend everything is fine while it continues to get worse. He didn't tell you about the situation with his parents until the last minute when he had no other option except the option to come clean, which he didn't take. That is the level of truthfulness and integrity you can expect from him. He'll lie to you when it makes him look better or to cover for one of his previous lies, and he'll tell you the truth when he's all out of other options. That is a great comment, and I'd actually forgotten what OP said. Is this an indication of what else he might do, what else he might lie about? And I think I have to agree with this comment. Yes. If he's willing to lie to his parents, he's definitely willing to lie to you, and that is very, very worrying. OP replied, it's really hard to swallow that. I do see what you're saying though. The same person then said, I'd be more understanding if his parents had impossible standards that he could never live up to, and he had to lie to them to just maintain his peace and sanity. But that's not the impression I'm getting. It sounds like he's been lying about a lot of things for a long time, and he still thinks he can get out of it by telling more lies. I would tell him to come clean with his parents before dinner, because you won't cover for him. If he does it and actually faces the consequences of his lies for once, maybe he can learn something from this and change his ways. Great comment once again from this user. OP said, yeah, that's true. And yes, his parents weren't expecting a surgeon or anything. They think he teaches, but he's an architect. It's still they think he teaches, but he's an architect. Being an architect, in the UK at least, is one of the hardest things to be. It's extremely challenging to qualify as an architect. It's a 7-year course to become an architect. That's insane. Why does he not feel comfortable telling his parents that? Yeah, being a teacher is great, but it's harder to become an architect. Like, just statistically. That's just the facts. Anyway, OP continues, it's still an awesome profession and in no way lesser than a teacher, so I don't understand it at all. I think I'll have to tell him. Either he has to come clean or I'm answering honestly at dinner. Great. I completely agree with all of that. Somebody said, yeah, that is weird. I feel like most people think of an architect as being more prestigious than a teacher. OP says, exactly. I wouldn't say necessarily more prestigious, but equally as respectable as a career choice is definitely what I would say to that. As I said, it's very hard to become an architect. I actually did an internship at an architect firm a long time ago now, and those guys work very hard, and as I said, it takes 7 years to even qualify as one. Finally, somebody said, what I don't understand is that the guy is an architect when his parents wanted him to be a teacher. How can he think so poorly of his own parents who paid for his education to assume they wouldn't respect his choices? Unless they're crazy strict or abusive, I don't understand why you would conceal so much. OP replied, yeah, it's a fabulous job and he has wonderful parents. I'm sure they'd be incredibly proud. His younger sister is a McDonald's manager and they treat her promotions as they would if she had just made partner at a law firm. There's no way they'd be disappointed. I feel so frustrated at him and honestly, I feel betrayed for his parents. They paid his way. It's so frustrating to feel trapped in this situation. Very, very interesting stuff. I've already given my thoughts, so let's get straight into the update. There are actually 2 updates here, but let's get into... Actually, there are 3 updates. Sorry, but let's get into the first one. So, I decided to tell him that I won't be perpetuating the lies, but I won't outright say anything because I don't feel like it would be appropriate for me to be the reason that everything blows up. I actually decided not to go to the first family dinner, and I'm unsure if I'm going to stay at this point, but I don't really know what to do. I didn't pay for the ticket, so I feel really horrible about seeming ungrateful, but I got a hotel for 3 nights just to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm still thinking because everything is just so intertwined and complicated, our bank accounts, our rental agreement, etc. So apart from the fact that I want to make this relationship work because I love him, it's also not really simple enough for me to just break away and leave. I want to work this out for everyone and figure out how to help him tell his family before we go. Anyway, I'm so sorry I'm so late for updating, but I'll update again when I have a more concrete plan. His family is amazing, and I feel wretched about everything. This is the thing that's so interesting to me, as another commenter said. If his family and his parents were just like unbelievably pressurizing on him and just like they had the most unrealistic expectations of what they wanted from their son, I would understand his actions a lot more. But it seems like they're not at all like that. I mean, the thing with his sister's job kind of just shows that. Anyway, the next day we did get an update. Okay, I think we have come to what will hopefully be the start of a resolution. So, I told his mum that I was so incredibly grateful for her generosity so far, even just 1 day into the trip, which is why I actually needed to take some time away and stay at a hotel for a few days, because staying with her didn't feel right until we cleared up some serious personal issues that have just come to light. I talked to my boyfriend and we decided on a plan. Tomorrow morning, his mum and dad are meeting us in a restaurant in the hotel. I offered to take them to brunch to discuss everything. I told him and his mum, separately, that I really want to be a part of this family, and for that to happen, we all need to have a big conversation. The plan is, at brunch, my boyfriend is going to lay everything out on the table. I'm going to explain to them that I didn't even realize the lies that have been going on, and I wasn't comfortable staying there and lying to their face, and that I just found out about this the day we landed. I wanted to make sure that my boyfriend resolved this with them, because from the moment I found out, I felt horrible, and I wanted to get off on the right foot with them. We both wanted to make sure that my boyfriend came clean while we were here. When I was talking to my boyfriend, there were definitely some tears, and I think he's going to feel so much weight off his chest when we finally talk about this. I really don't think he wanted or intended for this to happen. I don't think he would have brought me here if he wasn't okay with the truth eventually coming out. I will definitely update when the conversation happens. Thank you so much for the advice and support, everyone. Okay, now before we get into the third and final update, I just want to have a look at some comments. Somebody asked, is this a cultural thing maybe? I know some ethnicities get so much trash from parents, kids learn to just lie reflexively. Of course, you should break up, but since you don't want to snoop on his actual life, he's likely lying about what he's lying about. OP replied to that saying, I don't think so, honestly. They're pretty secular, white-bread Irish folk. I honestly couldn't see it being cultural. But maybe, I guess, I'm not sure what Irish people are normally like with their kids. Now, somebody else said, and this is super interesting, maybe the boyfriend is lying about being an architect. I suppose if he's lying about what you do to his parents, he could be lying about what he does to you. But OP said, I know for sure he is an architect. I'm not worried about that part, genuinely. He does a lot of work from our home office. We also hosted the Christmas party for his office the last 2 years, so I know his bosses and co-workers really well. I'm 100% positive they would have corrected me or not mentioned him during conversations and discussions about design projects. He's in a semi-senior role at his work, and I frequently stop by his office after work. We usually meet in the reception area to drive home. His office also has his name and job title, project manager, on his door. Trust me, he could not be fabricating the career with me so close and our general relationship with the office. Not trying to argue with you or anything, as I'm sure there's other lies, but his career and our bills are totally kosher. There's no worries there. Imagine if your boyfriend had gone through that unbelievable amount of effort to lie about being an architect as well, and had hired some actors for your Christmas parties, had hired a reception area and made a sign with his name on it and project manager. That would be elite, but sadly that's not the case. OP continues, I'm an industrial designer and I'm familiar enough with the career and I've worked long enough in the field that I would catch a lie about his work pretty instantly. My guess is that it's something to do with his parents funding him and assuming he has an education degree because that's what he told them he was taking for some reason. Whether he knew right away that wasn't what he was going to do or he changed once he got to school, I honestly have no idea. We hadn't met at that time yet. That's the reason it's so strange and frustrating for me, because he has a fabulous career. These are the things that ultimately right now that you know that he's been lying all this time, you need to work out and you need to ask him about. Okay, so this is the final update posted 2 days later. It feels like so much to have to type out, so I'm going to try to condense it to be as straightforward and simple as possible. Basically, the brunch went really well. I was very impressed by my boyfriend. He was actually really forthcoming and laid pretty much everything out. He apologized to me and his parents, and he gave me an opportunity to tell them anything I wanted to tell them about my actual family, my life. They were really interested, and it was really refreshing just to start to get to know them on an honest level. He basically came clean about absolutely everything, including some other personal stuff that I didn't even know about that he had told myself and them. He apologized and promised he was going to take steps to earn our trust back, including therapy. It really actually felt like it brought us closer together. His parents were quite hurt and initially upset, but I think it really did a lot for what they thought of me as a partner for their son and future daughter-in-law, which I'm really happy about. They were really supportive in the end and told him that basically at the end of the day he is still loved and they will just have to start building that trust up again. I'm going to continue staying at their house now and they will tell his siblings together. I actually ended up sitting down for a cup of tea at their place with his mum, and she did explain to me that she's going to talk to him privately about the pressure he might have felt to lie to them, because I guess they realise now that they put more pressure into him than any of the other kids because he was originally going to follow his dad's footsteps as an English teacher. She told me that she really likes me and she hopes it doesn't affect my view of their family or her son. She thanked me for pushing for the honesty, and she can't wait for the opportunity to get closer to us. My boyfriend also seems so much more open to having conversations about coming back and having them come stay with us. It really worked out in the long run for me to not make any hasty decisions because I'm really happy with how this turned out. To me, it just seems like just mistakes on both ends that culminated in a really bad choice on his end. Thank you again, everyone, for the advice. Okay, and there we go. That is the end of that story. A good ending, to be honest. I was slightly worried that this wasn't going to be resolved, but it sounds like it has been, and you guys are going to be able to move forward from this. And yeah, everything's going to be good, which is sweet because it would be a shame if this was like a really big character trait of your boyfriend, that he was just too scared to tell the truth, or didn't tell the truth often for whatever reason, and you weren't ever able to trust him again. Obviously, like, you're still going to have to build trust in him, as are his parents. But yeah, the fact is, at least he's now owned it. You helped him massively, of course, but what he's just done there is the hardest bit. Now it should be a lot easier. And hopefully as well, now he'll think, well, I'm never doing that again. Look at that web of lies that I got tangled in. That was horrible. Now, the reason I really enjoyed that story is because it's actually, I can resonate with it quite a lot. One of my friends did something very similar to this. And sort of, all of a sudden got trapped in his own web of lies. Lost his job, didn't tell us about it, was kind of pretending that he was still going to the job, etc., etc. And it was a bit weird. And ultimately, when we talked to him about it, I think the main thing was he was just too proud to actually openly say, listen, I lost my job. Or, I'm not getting paid, etc., etc. And he didn't tell his parents either. So they and similar to this, like, they're not super demanding of him, or they're not like, they don't ask crazy things or pressure him, I don't think, to, do things that are unreasonable or have an unreasonable career. It's just sort of the pressure that he puts on himself. And when that happened, he I suppose just didn't want people to know about it, couldn't really face that fact. But again, like with all these things, the truth is always eventually going to come out. And then I feel like now, if that was to happen to him again, he would act completely differently for the better. Because ultimately, like, if you do lie about these things, and I'm a bit more like that. Like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, oh, that's like absolutely gutting, maybe slightly embarrassing, whatever. And I wouldn't want people to know. I feel like shame, which you shouldn't, because, you know, everyone loses their job. Or, yeah, I mean, he didn't even lose his job. It was just that comment that was saying if he gets fired from his job, he might pretend he's still going to work every day and never tell you. Yeah, that happened to me. But again, like, I can kind of see it. Like, you're just too proud. But ultimately, it's going to hurt you not telling the truth. And also, the main point is, if you do lose your job, or if you don't have a career that your parents necessarily wanted you to have, even though that wasn't really the case in this story, like, everyone is still going to love you, surely. Because who really cares what job anyone has, ultimately? I don't care. As long as you're happy, as long as people are happy, then that's all good. It's sad that OP's boyfriend felt this way for such a long time. I can't imagine, like, the mental torment that was going on, like the anguish. But as I said, I feel like now it's resolved, and this shouldn't happen in the future, because he will always think back to how terrible this was, maintaining this lie for so many years. I, a 24-year-old woman, found hundreds of pictures of my brother, who is a 20-year-old man, of course, on my boyfriend's laptop. My boyfriend is 24. Can anyone please explain to me what is going on? I mean, you talk about titles. It's just brilliant. Now, this was originally posted on August the 30th, 2018. And of course, there is an update to come, as always with these stories. So let's get into it. I've been with my boyfriend for a year. Our relationship was great, and we honestly never had any serious problems. We both have full-time jobs and live together. He's good friends with my youngest brother as well, mainly because of their shared interest in fitness, workouts, etc. They hang out a good amount and go to the gym together. In hindsight, the fact that they're good friends makes this all the more creepy. Yesterday, I was home alone and my boyfriend was at work. I needed to print something out, but my laptop wasn't working at all. And my boyfriend has several laptops, and there's one in particular he never uses. At least, I've never seen him use it. I thought it was some dusty old thing. I grabbed it, and it was not shut down properly. It took me straight to the photo albums, and there were hundreds of pictures of my brother saved. Oh no. Most were pulled from his social media accounts, but there were also pics of him from his rugby team's website. What the flip? This isn't even the worst. There was an album that only consisted of creep shots and videos. Pictures of him sleeping, even videos of him getting changed. You could clearly see in the videos that he wasn't aware he was being recorded. What the frickin' F? The last pic he uploaded was literally last week. This is so creepy. I don't even know what to say. There were also pictures of someone's gym clothes. I'm assuming they're also my brother's. Yeah, they probably are. I'm confused, disgusted, and shocked. What the heck is going on? When he came back from work, I just went straight to sleep. I couldn't even face him. I honestly can't think of a good reason he would do this. I mean, straight guys don't usually do this, right? Well, let me tell you, as someone that is a straight guy, no, I don't normally do this. I don't know if I should even confront him about it. Should I ask what this whole thing is about? There we go. That is it for the original post. Too long didn't read. Boyfriend has tons of pictures and videos of my brother saved on his old laptop. It's extremely creepy, and I don't even know how to confront him about it. Well, let me just say this. That's one of the weirdest things ever. Secondly, you obviously have to confront him. Like, your boyfriend has pictures and videos of your younger brother on his laptop, and your younger brother has no idea he was even being filmed or you know, taken photographs of. Yes, you must confront him. And I would say, obviously, you break up with him immediately, even potentially go to the police. But let's see what the people of Reddit were saying. Let's jump into some relevant comments. Somebody said, he's clearly got a thing for your brother. It's not a healthy way of expressing it. Creepy as anything, but it's quite obvious. So confront him. Tell him how uncomfortable it makes you feel. Be prepared to break it off with him. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this. Yeah, very reasonable. Pretty much exactly what I said. OP said, it's weird because I never even suspected that he has a thing for my brother. I would have noticed something like that. I honestly can't believe it. Well, you didn't notice it. So there you go. And also, you know, clearly your boyfriend wants to keep this a secret. He probably is bisexual. Maybe he's even gay. Who knows? And yes, he might be ashamed of this. And he's probably trying to cover it up as much as possible. I mean, I would be pretty ashamed of having a folder full of pictures and videos of my girlfriend's younger brother on my laptop. I probably wouldn't want to tell the people of the world about that either. But there you go. Now, OP also added this in the comments. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he told me, oh no. See, this is what you get when it's like sort of live like this. Live reaction to the following sentence. He told me that his dirty clothes keep going missing, and that he's convinced someone at the gym or other places keeps stealing it. Oh my goodness. I just found it kind of funny / weird at that time, but now I'm thinking it's way more effed up. Yeah, probably is. What is he doing with your brother's dirty clothes? I think we all know, realistically. Maybe he's putting them in the wash, helping out. I doubt it. Let's jump into some other comments. It's not just that your boyfriend is sexually attracted to your brother, but that he's clearly obsessive. I'm a single guy, and I'll look at Facebook pictures of my crush, but I don't save them onto my computer. That is super creepy. That's very fair. And him taking pictures of your brother sleeping sounds criminal. Yeah, that's what I said. This is a lot worse than your boyfriend being secretly gay. Completely agree. Somebody else replied to this saying, in my opinion, saving them isn't so much of the concern as is taking the creep shots of him. That is a serious WTF. Yeah, I mean, that is the illegal stuff there, surely. I would take the laptop and show my brother, then go to the police to report it. Boom. Exactly what I said. Let me know in the comments down below throughout all of this, guys, by the way, what you're currently thinking. If you do a little timestamp as well, that's pretty cool, because then I will know that you're sort of reacting live in the way I am. You know, if you listen to the whole story and then give your opinion, it will obviously be influenced by the update that we're going to get into and future comments. But if you give a little timestamp now, then I'll know that maybe we're thinking the same things, maybe not. I feel like this is a pretty cut and dry case. Somebody else said, I don't recommend confronting him alone. It's a valid point. This is some very unhealthy stuff. And I feel like if you corner someone with this sort of thing, he may react in a way that puts you in danger. Don't do that, even if you crave the dramatic airing. I don't think OP is the sort of person that does crave the dramatic airing or the drama, given the fact that she said, I don't even know whether to confront him or not. I feel like if she loved the drama, she already would have done. This probably goes beyond drama, though. This is more like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend is a creep and might go to prison for this. Last comment. Somebody said, yep, I suspect the boyfriend will react very poorly to OP confronting him. And this is a big revelation that could potentially bring to light something the boyfriend wants to hide and is ashamed of. This could be really dangerous to OP. That's very valid. Yeah, I completely agree. I would like to say that wouldn't happen, but obviously I've got no idea who OP is, who OP's boyfriend is. So yeah, it's probably best to you know, have some backup here, especially given the fact that what he's doing must be illegal. I don't know where you are in the world, but it must be. You can't just take photos of people without their consent if they're sleeping. Also, we don't know where this person, where your brother was asleep. Like, is it in his bed in his own house? Actually, it must be, right? I imagine your boyfriend is staying around at yours, and then what? Gets up in the middle of the night and goes into your brother's room and takes a photo of him. I mean, that's the worst case. Jesus, that's really quite disgusting. Anyway, let's get into the update. This was posted, what, a month or so after the original, back in 2018 still, but the start or the middle of September. Sorry, this is just a funny start to an update. Sorry to disappoint, but this isn't a positive update. I don't think anyone expected it to be positive. Imagine, like, oh wow, we got a positive update. Turns out, my brother actually asked my boyfriend to take loads of creepy photos of him without his consent, which makes no sense, and store them on his laptop. You know, what could possibly be positive about any update anyway? I'm still trying to mentally process it all, hence the delayed post. So I grabbed the laptop to take pictures of the photo albums. I found way more stuff than I originally stumbled upon. A lot of the commenters in the original post said that he probably used me to get closer to my brother. Oh god, that's a good point. Didn't even think about that. I didn't quite believe it at first, but they were right. Okay. I didn't even think about that. That's so disgusting. While I was taking pictures of the photo albums, I found more folders. He began saving these pictures 4 to 5 months before we started dating, and my brother didn't even know him at that time. Oh my god, so he fully did use you to get closer to your brother. That realization sent chills down my spine. That's sending chills down my spine now. I also went on the internet. The bookmarks, the browsing history, it was all horrific. I'm not going to elaborate because it's honestly sickening. It's clear that he has an obsession with my brother, an extremely violent and disturbing fantasies about him. I'm not talking about BDSM or bondage, although some of that was there too. This was absolutely messed up, scary stuff. I cannot believe that I was so clueless about everything. Sorry, so it's worse or more violent and more disturbing than BDSM and bondage. Okay, so, I mean, I'm not even going to begin to imagine what that might be, but yeah, you can probably work that out for yourselves, I suppose. Jeez. I went over to my brother's place and I explained everything, showing him proof on the actual laptop. He was shocked and creeped out, of course, but didn't believe that my ex was behind this for different reasons. But he's not gay. He wouldn't do something like this, etc. Notice how, thankfully, he is now an ex. I wanted to go to the police, but he completely refused. I explained that this isn't just a crush from a seemingly straight friend. This is an unhealthy, psychotic obsession. He completely denied that he was in danger and actually seemed embarrassed more than anything. I told him that my ex actually started creeping on him months before our relationship began and took all of these creep shots. Besides, the browsing history and bookmarks were specific to him. It would make anyone freak out. When I showed him the pictures of his clothes, he was very confused. He asked me why would my ex steal his dirty clothes? But even then, he still didn't want to go to the police. To be honest, your brother's probably in a bit of a state of shock right now. Can't quite believe this is happening and is probably trying to sort of like calm the situation down and make it seem to himself as if it's not as crazy as it is to you know, sort of settle himself, because I feel like if you accepted the fact that this is the facts and this is what's going on, you'd go to a weird place. You'd be in shock, wouldn't you? I mean, think of the reaction to that. So he's probably just trying to calm himself down and be like, no, I don't believe it. It can't be that bad. It's probably a little bit of disbelief in there. Anyway, my plan was actually to confront my ex in public, but my brother just straight away texted him to come over. Side note, he arrived super fast. I wonder what he was expecting. When my ex came, I showed him the laptop and I asked him to explain. The entire situation was so bizarre. While I was talking, he seemed incredibly angry. I've never seen such a look on his face before. But then he calmed down and casually confessed to everything. He said that it was just a habit he got into and that he's truly sorry. At that point, my brother said that this is probably a prank and that it wasn't funny, etc. Sorry, I just got to go back to the word habit there. I have a habit of, going on my phone when I go to the toilet, going on TikTok. That's a habit, right? It's, pretty harmless. I don't know what it's doing to my brain, but pretty harmless. And yeah, it's a bit of a habit. Not sure about the habit of taking unsolicited photos of your girlfriend's younger brother and thinking about the fantasies of what you want to do to him that are more dark than BDSM. Not sure that's a habit. There we go. Maybe it's just a difference in definition there between me and OP's ex. Who knows? I mean, fair enough if it is. Just not quite sure about that one. Anyway, OP says, I started crying a little and my ex rolled his eyes and told me to stop crying. He was so nonchalant and cold, I didn't even recognize him anymore. Then he said that he would immediately stop doing this if we kept this to ourselves. I think my brother finally believed him then because he was absolutely dumbstruck. Okay, so maybe your brother then actually did think it was a joke or something all along. Again, he probably just couldn't begin to even fathom that this was legit. Imagine if this happened to you. It's actually crazy. Like, you think you know someone and then they've been doing this. I have a little theory myself that actually, and you know what I'm going to do just for this? I'm going to go back to full face cam because I do actually think this is true. Everyone in the world is, I think, quite a bit darker / weird than they portray. I'm not talking sexually necessarily. I just mean in general. I think a lot of people have a darker side to them, not in like a malicious way, not like this, but like a more kind of, I don't want to say perverted, but they're into certain things that you wouldn't talk about publicly, even with like your close mates and stuff. And again, I'm not saying it's to this extent. And even me saying this now is why I think a few of you will like the fact that this is sort of as live, unedited, because I can't go back on what I'm saying right here. I think that, you know, a lot of people are maybe 1% of you know, OP's ex here. They've got a few dark secrets that they don't really want people to tell. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just, you know, how people are. And their deepest, darkest secrets probably at some points aren't you know, you don't want to share those things publicly. However, when it comes to this, I think this is another level. And once again, I am not saying that this is common at all. I just think if you're honest with yourself, like deep down when you're alone at night, you do think of some weird things. Let's be honest. Just saying, I'm talking about you in particular. I don't do that. Just saying, but not like this. But there we go. My ex said that he'd take down the cameras too. Wait, what? That's how he got the photos. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm tempted to just give this the moment that it needs. Sorry. Wow. That is genuinely crazy. He'd put up cameras. He'd put up cameras, guys. Sensational scenes. Wow. Let's carry the music back on. All I can say to that is genuinely, wow. Goodness me. Take down the cameras and we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I asked him where the cameras are and he proceeded to show us. He probably thought he was a good guy for cooperating with us and that it would make the situation less creepy. But it turns out there was a camera in the shower as well. I need like a zoom in on my face. I should have done that. How do I do that? I just get close to the camera, like. Wow, and that's content. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, I'm very sorry because you just missed some absolute golden content there from my face. I think we can all agree on that. Cameras in the shower. Pretty normal. It was nauseating. The conversation that followed was extremely uncomfortable and my ex said some very provocative and inappropriate things. They ended up having a huge argument about the stolen clothes amongst other topics, and the rest was pretty awful. I eventually went to stay at a friend's place. I'd already packed my stuff anyway. Later that night, my ex texts me that I'm a bad person for invading his privacy. Talk about irony. And that I'm selfish, narcissistic, a bad human being, etc. He said that he's willing to forgive me though. Yes, he really said that. I blocked his number on everywhere. A day later, he came to me at work and I told him to stay away from me. He did that every day for 1 week at different locations until I seriously threatened him. He said that he never cared about me anyway and wished me luck for my future relationships. Holy cow. So he literally never cared. I mean, he just was going after your brother. A couple of days ago, my brother texted me. We haven't spoken at all since that day and apologized. But he still refuses to address the elephant in the room. He's just pretending it never happened. I told him that my ex is clearly not stable. Why would you not notify the police? I honestly don't know what to do. Is there a way that I can report this just in case? I mean, yes. You don't have to be the victim of a crime to report a crime. You can, of course, report it. I think it probably would need your brother to want to get involved, though, for this to actually go anywhere. But, you know, if I see a murder... Well, it doesn't make any sense, sorry. If I see a... Because obviously, if you're a murder victim, it's quite hard to report your crime. If I see a robbery, I can still report it to the police, surely. I mean, I don't have to be the victim. Anyway. Oh, by the way, It was his 21st birthday yesterday, and I called him in the morning. He told me that he got a present from an unknown sender. I said the sender is probably not unknown. Like, this is 100% my psycho ex. I just know it. What's the present? We don't know what the present is. Oh, that's a shame, but also probably a good thing. As I said, this isn't a positive update. A lot of people seem to be concerned, and that's the only reason I posted this. I just hope things don't get worse. Oh my goodness me. Let's get into the comments. Girl, take that whole laptop to the police. I'm not kidding, this is very serious. If your brother ends up dead, you will never forgive yourself. I agree. I feel like we've seen from OP's ex's reaction that this guy has no remorse. He doesn't really even care that he's caught. And now he might go completely psychotic. So yes, this needs to be higher up, somebody replies. OP, this guy is showing serious signs of a true psychopath and future serial killer behavior. Yeah, I agree. You are not safe, and neither is your brother. Take that laptop and go to the freaking police now. Don't wait. Don't worry about anything else. And check your brother's house for more cameras instantly, if the police don't. This is something you don't just stop doing. It's still happening now. You didn't notice before. You probably wouldn't have noticed it for months if you didn't look on the laptop. That's a very good point. I mean, there's probably more cameras, right? He doesn't have to take all the cameras down. You don't know what he's still got on other devices. You know, there's a decent chance he might have a camera that is like live streaming your bedroom or something like that, or your brother's bedroom that he just hasn't told you about, or like some listening device or something. This guy is clearly crazy. The way he talks to you and views the world is truly disturbing, and the way he told you to stop crying, yeah, that is psychopath behavior. How he went calm, same thing. There's a real freaking chance he will try to be near to your brother in some other way, and he'll do something much worse to him than just pictures. Go to the police, stay safe. Somebody else said this. This looks interesting. Your brother is an idiot. I hope he wishes up before your ex stashes him in an oubliette? See, normally I would look up this word, but I can't right now because I'm doing this live. Oubliette, I'm not sure what that is. Maybe some form of but like washing basket, maybe? And starts lowering lotion down to him in a basket. Oh, right, I see. Some sort of jail, who knows? You let me know in the comment down below. That's weird. Idiot is a strong word, but actually, now that I think about it, yeah, he is, because you know, you're not just an idiot for doing idiotic things. You're also an idiot for not doing things that you know would save your life, right? As in, if I didn't take medication for sepsis, I'd be an idiot. There we go. Final comments from... That's just such a bad example, but also a good example. Would that be taken out if this was edited? Arguably not, actually. Probably would keep it in. Final comments from OP. I definitely won't post another update. This is the last one. And I forgot to mention it, but I have the laptop. He said that he was doing us a favor by letting us keep it. I mean, he didn't really put up a fight about it. Thanks for your concern either way. And there we go. That is the end of that roller coaster. I don't really know what else to say other than what I've already said throughout that. I do just think the main thing is that OP has to go to the cops immediately, no matter what their brother says. Again, you don't have to be the victim of a crime to report it. Also, you're the one with the evidence anyway. Also, surely your brother will be more pushed to actually like press charges or help out this ridiculous situation if you go to the police first and are like, look, the police have said that this is a real criminal case. My ex could be doing this amount of time with the right evidence. If you come forward as well, it will add etc onto the charges, whatever, onto the sentence. I don't think it would take much convincing, and I don't think it would take much time, to be honest, for OP's brother to get on side and be like, okay, yeah, this was super weird and we need to do this now. So there we go. Crazy stuff. And I'm not quite sure how to react. I think it's just the unsettling thing is the sort of psychopathic nature of this man, in that you guys had no idea what was going on. And by the way, I don't blame you for that, because that is the beauty of a psychopath. I say beauty very lightly there, but they can fit in very well. They can be very charming. They can get along with people extremely well. People often like them a lot. But underneath all of this, you have this obviously psychopathic underbelly, which is their true character, and only shows in certain situations, I suppose. Like the fact that he went calm there and was locked in and just knew how to act and was like, you know what, I don't care that I've been caught. This. Stop crying, etc. I'll take the cameras down, whatever. It's not as if he was panicked and like, oh my god, I can't believe I got caught. Like, this is the definition of a psychopath. So yeah, I mean, the main point is you got to go to the police. But there we go. That is going to do it for this one.